Transformers 1. It's finally here. Or well, almost. Just a few more days for the official US release date. Or a month if you live in the UK, sadly. So, what did I think of it? Is it as good as everyone says on Twitter or Rotten Tomatoes? Or as bad and mid as IGN claims it to be? Skipping all the BS, it's good. Okay, that's it. Bye! Okay, seriously though. To have more context into my opinions on the movie and all, I'm going to explain without spoilers what I thought of it as best I can. I'll mention my opinions on what I thought about certain characters and the pacing, story, and overall plot of it. But if that's too spoilery for you, don't worry. With a few more days, watch the movie. And also if you prefer, I'll try to upload another video with more spoilers, so be on the lookout for that. Anyway, to elaborate on my rating, I think the movie is really good, and possibly is the best TF movie to date. But personally, I don't think it reaches that high for me. And I'll put in the two numbers later on, or in a tier list. But to start with, I want to focus on the technical aspects of it. Since these are the least spoilery aspects of the whole movie, you don't have to worry about me going into detail. So, I have a degree in animation and also do animation professionally. So, a lot of what they did catch my eye. One of the things I kept hearing about before watching the movie was that TF1 was the equivalent to Spider-Verse, and I agree to a certain extent. I think the art style and the character models and the city itself, Icon City, are very appealing and unique to see. But I do think they could have done a few more unique things with the actual movements of the characters. One of the benefits of using animation is that it allows you to be way more expressive than in realistic settings. And I feel like they could have done a little bit more crazy stuff with the actual movements, which they do kind of do near the end of the movie, but I would have liked to see more of it. Without going into detail, the plot and story of the movie is relatively simple and pretty straightforward. If you saw any of the trailers, you pretty much know how it's going to go. That's not a bad thing though. For a movie explicitly named TF1 and marketed as the origin story and starting point of this universe, this was the right way to go. I feel like if you walk as someone with no TF knowledge whatsoever, you'll come out knowing pretty much everything you need to know about Transformers and its basic lore built up with over 40 years of experience. And by extent, if you're a longtime fan, you'll appreciate a lot of nods and Easter eggs here and there. I grew up watching Armada, the Babers, and Transformers Brown. But I wasn't really a fan of anything past that, or even active in Transformers Spaces until the start of this year. So a lot of the lore I've only been learning like very recently, or just pretending to learn by reading the wiki. So a lot of these new aspects I've learned get explained in a very simple and concise way without it feeling like someone's reading a textbook to you, which is really beautiful. I feel that if you're a hardcore G1 fan, an animated fan, or even an IDW fan, you'll appreciate the movie the most. The reason I can't call it my favorite is that I have that sort of Babers bias, and I like that Michael Bay sort of sauce that he puts on his action sequences or whatever, despite the actual plot points of the movies being dog water. That said though, no matter what type of fan you are, you'll probably enjoy this movie. There's some Babers Easter eggs here and there, like that sword Sentinel has in some of the promo pics. And of course, Arachnid, which as a Prime fan, it's great to finally see her again after all these years. Speaking of Babers and all of that though, if you're wondering if Lorenzo, the infamous producer's comments on how this movie's like 3 billion years before the Babers or whatever, if you're wondering if those comments hold any weight or truth to them, or are just lies like usual, it's crap like usual. There is literally zero way that this movie can be in the same universe as the Babers. It's impossible. There's really no way to even like do mental gymnastics for that to be the case. However, you can probably connect it to Bumblebee, like the Nightmares, quote unquote, with Bumblebee movie and Rise of the Beast, since there's no contradictions, I think. If you're, I don't know, if you're on that copium sort of thing, I guess you can make the connection, but I'm pretty sure the director already said that this is a new universe, so again, no big spoiler there. Anyway, discussion over. Now, onto the characters. I think that the four main characters all get a time to shine in the movie and have very, very distinct personalities. And to the movie's credit, out of all the TF movies, I think this one does do it the best. All of them have character depth, motivations, goals. They don't just feel like action figures fighting each other, even though they kind of are. The movie spends a lot of time developing all of them, so you can relate to each of them in their own way. I think the weakest one out of all of them, though, is unfortunately Bumblebee. He isn't one-dimensional at all, but he's definitely like, I don't know, the comedic relief. And you don't really get a lot out of him besides a few cool moments and some funny scenes. But he's not a bad character or anything like that. Alita 1, though, is a very, very interesting character. Because even though she doesn't have, like, kind of a reason to initially be part of the group or whatever, her motivations and personality are very specific to her and really stand out amongst all of the group. She does stand out because she's very stubborn, confident, and pretty fearless. She's definitely not what I expected from her character. I don't want to say girl boss or anything like that. She's just not... I don't know how to explain it. Like, if you've read the Skybound comics, you'll know what I mean. It's sort of that personality that she has. Now, Orion Pax / Optimus Prime and D16, oh my god. The main selling point of the movie, and it does not disappoint at all. Despite only being one movie and not a long show or comic book series, you really can feel their connection from start to finish. Their friendship and eventually rivalry is not rushed at all. I won't spoil what causes them to grow apart or anything like that, but just know it's not something that gets rushed or immediately thrown to your face without any explanation or something that just suddenly happens. Don't worry, it's something you can see unfold and understand each of their points of view. It's by far the strongest part of the movie. If I were to rank the four main characters and how much I like them, I definitely say that D16 / Megatron is the one I like the most, and Orion Pax right below him, but by very, very little. They just complement each other really well. And after that, Alita, and lastly, B. But again, I don't hate B. I like him. He's definitely going to be very popular with kids and stuff like that. But yeah, he's not bad. He's just, there. I know people had concerns about the movie being too kiddie and comedic, especially with B, like I said. And while there is quite a bit of comedy in the whole movie, it does not overshadow the emotional moments. Like, the movie tends to go from 0 to 100, like really out of nowhere. That said though, there might be some comedic moments that super mega nerd fans might not love regarding certain characters. I can already tell that people might be, oh, that's not what I wanted to see from said characters. But it's such a small thing that I can imagine like ruining anyone's experience, like, oh, this one single thing just ruined the whole movie for me, so don't worry about it. I don't think the next thing counts as a spoiler, and I actually think there's not that much you can actually spoil from the movie. It's not like Marvel, where every single scene is a million glop shadows, cameos, or spoilery moments that you can go, oh, this person dies, or oh my gosh, Glorpo appeared. You can't really do that with this movie, which is I think, a pro. One thing I was worried about was specifically that the whole dynamic, like the friendship or frenemies thing with Optimus going on, was that it could be rushed or something like that. But no, it's really well executed. I expected the movie to have like time jumps. Like from the trailers, I thought it was going to be across many years, but no. The movie is very linear. It's very natural despite the time span of the movie. So, no notes there. It's pretty perfect. But what wasn't perfect? Is there something I dislike, if anything at all? I mean, surely IGN's review must have had some sort of reason, right? Nope, I don't think so. My only complaints from this movie come back to what I mentioned earlier about my bias to favors and all of that. I think the movie is the absolute best out of all the TF movies when it comes to characters and motivations. Going back to the expressiveness of the animation, I really wish that they could have gone, I don't know, even crazier with it. I think the last quote-unquote fight or the last act, they go all out with the action and expressiveness of it, but I really wanted to see more of that because I don't know, when I think Transformers and cool fights, I think of the Forest fight or the very last fight in the Rise of the Beast movie. So I really wanted to see more of that. But don't worry, the fights don't disappoint, I just wanted a bit more. And as I was recording this video, there's actually been an update or announcement that TF2 will get made if TF1 does well in the box office. So if you want to see more of this, if you already watched the movie or want to see more of it, go watch it right now in theaters. I get that this is the starting point, and because of that, they had to focus a lot on the building blocks of the universe. But with that out of the way, I want more action now. That said though, the action that we do get, again, it's pretty good. So, with that all said and done, what would I rate this movie? If I put my biases aside and try to look at this movie from the outside, which by the way I have a video for that, I do think this is the best TF movie ever made. All those 9 out of 10 or even 10 out of 10 that you see around on Twitter are correct, I would say. And if I don't ignore those biases, I feel comfortable giving it 8.5 out of 10 or 4 out of 5 stars if you're one of those letterboxd people. But what about you? Will you like it? If you're an outsider of the TF fandom or don't know anything about the franchise, I think you will very much like it. This serves as the perfect introduction to the franchise and characters without being too overwhelming. And if you're a longtime fan, no matter like which era or generation or whatever, there's a little bit of everything to please every part of the fandom, which is really hard to do, I think. The only thing that I think people in general might not like could be the art style, because I know, not to be a Bayward truther or whatever, I know like in general going from this hyper detailed stuff to very simplistic stuff, even though it's classic or whatever, I think it might be a little bit jarring. I think that's the only thing that might be a little bit jarring. Actually, that's a lie. The other thing that might be a little bit too well received might be the voice cast itself. If you're not like a fan of star talent or actors that are clearly not VAs trying their hand at this, like ScarJo or Chris Hemsworth, because I didn't mind them, like they sound really good even in the trailers, but I get that it might not be for everyone, and I don't even want to get into the Latin American dub has really controversial picks for it, and oh my gosh, that whole Twitter thing with the PDF stuff going on is really crazy to see. And I've even seen people complain about the Spain dub being really bad. So I don't know, think that in general this voice cast might be a little bit controversial no matter where you're from. So yeah, I think people might not like it, but I think it's fine. It's fine. Anyway, those are my thoughts on the movie. I tried to keep it as big as possible and spoiler free as possible as well, since I know people can be very stingy about it, since there is like barely, I don't know, I think 3 days before the movie actually officially releases everywhere. Well, not everywhere, again, the UK has to wait like a month, which is awful for you. But anyway, I'll do a spoiler heavy review in the next 2 days. I want to do it tomorrow, but I'll see about it. And I'll go more into detail about it, go full nuclear, and explain in very like detailed explanations what I liked, what I didn't like, and you'll have that info before you watch the movie, I guess. Anyway, if you like the review, again, subscribe, follow me on Twitter at thatslames, etc., etc. I'm That Slames. Have a good one, and bye.